Alright, hi everybody, it's Bonkai922. Okay, it's Bleach chapter time. I, I saw everyone else's review, and I'm not taking anything anyone says. When I first read this chapter, I thought, this was actually a good chapter. Last week's, was, trying to think last week's. It was pretty interesting. Ichigo released his Bankai, Genjao released his Bankai, and we're fighting a little bit here. But this week's chapter was called chapters 476, The Loss. Okay, so let's get into it. Pretty much in the beginning, it's Ichigo and Genjao fighting off, because remember last week's, they broke that barrier area thing. So we get to see Genjao, and he says, he's basically telling him, reminding him that he has hollow power as well. So I have hollow power too. And we move on. He says, I see. And then Ichigo's like, come and Genjao, let's finish this right now. You seem confident, brat. And here's the funny, what I find interesting about Genjao in his powers, his eyes are black. Which is, but now that I think about it, it's not that peculiar. Because that's the color Ichigo's eyes were when he went hollow. When he put on his hollow mask, his eyes were black. So, And he says, you seem confident, brat. And then we move on, and that's the name of it. It's Bleach, Clash. Clash, and it says Bleach 476, The Lost. And basically, we get this scene with the captains, and they're just standing there. And Byakuya is basically telling Rukia, I am heading back to the Soul Society. We're all heading back to the Soul Society. Because Ichigo's Kurosaka's, we came here to find out what his final decision was. Blah, blah, blah. And then Zaraki says, so listen, I came here because I had nothing to do. Typical Zaraki thing. And they're just basically explaining to Rukia the whole point was they were going to kill Ichigo and Genjao. If they were luring Ichigo as bait, and they were basically luring him as bait to get to Genjao. And if Ichigo had joined Genjao, they would have killed them both. But seeing as how, and then you were originally ordered to keep watching, but you rebelled. No way, Ichigo would never yield the enemy's temptation. You were correct. And that's what the whole point was. They were going to kill him if he had joined, Genjao. And Hitsugaya says an interesting quote here. He says, I'm glad that the Shinigami substitute coming after Genjao was him. That whole bit. And then he says, our role ends here. And he's like, he's never changed, and the firmness was for me, for everybody. And then he says, for all souls something have returned in 1 million years. So he really changed, mostly what they're trying to say is he really changed the concept. He changed their perception. The Soul Society's perception. The whole Soul Society's perception. Commander, all the captains. On everything. So it says Ichigo, and we move on, and we see Ichigo fighting Genjao. By the way, in page 14 of this chapter, take a look at its hilt. Ichigo's hilt for the Bankai looks pretty fucking awesome. It's like a curve. It's like wholly new design, complete new design of his Bankai, which I find pretty cool. Say what you say about Kubo and being a bad writer, but you have to give props where props are due. And I hate to say it like this, but he made Ichigo's sword look not too bad. Pretty badass. Looks pretty badass the way it looks, the hilt and everything. And you got Genjao there. He's a crusty motherfucker. I agree with Phone on that. Genjao is a crusty motherfucker. Come on, man. You suck. Fuck you, Genjao. And then he says, and somebody did not Benevolent didn't mention this, about Ginjao. Ginjao was saying, why? I want to eliminate all these Shinigami that betrayed me, and I thought that you would try to convince me that it's wrong. But you're not even doing that. Why? Those eyes are the eyes of someone who's trying to understand me. The eyes of someone that stands next to me and is in my same condition. Does it mean that you want to deny everything I am after understanding me? So it's kind of conflicting. It's like Ichigo is trying to understand Ginjao, but he wants to deny everything that he is, everything that Ginjao is. Kind of an interesting scenario happening here. So we move on from there. Ichigo, he says, and then he shoots us. Now, King of Lightning mentioned a good thing. And I'm actually wondering why that it is that Ichigo never... I think I know the solution. I think I understand why. The only time Ichigo was ever able to do Sero when he was fully hollowified. So King of Lightning and anybody else who wants to know about that, the Sero thing, I think he couldn't learn it because of the fact that he didn't have full control over it. He could only do it when he's fully hollowified, which is kind of interesting in a way. It's kind of weird that he couldn't do it. I mean, the Visors could do it, but he couldn't. So but I think, bear with me, I do think this time around he might learn it down the road. We'll have to see. But anyway, that's what happens. Ginjao shoots a Sero with his sword at him, and Ichigo just blocks and crushes it like that. And then we move on, and then it's 19 with a slash. Two great men's decisive fight. That's how it ends. 3.5 out of 5. 3.5 out of 5. If people are wondering, this was actually a very good chapter. The only con I would say is not enough action. I mean, there was action, but there could have been a little bit more. But it was like I was thinking, like everybody was thinking, in 2 parts. The part where they talk about the behind the reasoning of Ichigo and Ginjao, and the fighting part. This is obviously going to continue. I don't think this is going to end. 3.5 out of 5. Kubo's 3 good chapters. 3 good chapters. The one last week was good, and the one before that was good. So 470, 471, 472, and 473, those 4 chapters were iffy at best. But these 3 chapters that he's done so far has been pretty good. Now, pros and cons. Pros. Number one. The fact that there's like a kind of a understanding going on. I want to put this as a pro. To me, I think it's a pro. It's interesting how, between Ichigo and Ginjao, this fight is becoming pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Well, aside from that, the real pro is the fight itself and the way their Bankais look. I think that's just a big-time pro. It looks pretty cool, in my opinion. I just think it's pretty interesting. Well, that's a pro. The other pro would probably be the whole thing with the Shinigamis. Even though it's... I mean, you can only really say there's 2 pros. The fight itself, and probably what Ginjao and Ichigo are discussing while they're fighting, and the Shinigami, saying that Ichigo has changed perception in the Soul Society. So those are the 2 pros. The fight, and what's, Con, I would say, too short. But then again, they're always short, so you can't even really say it's a con. But there was very few cons here. I really think these last 3 chapters were pretty damn good. Kubo's done a not too bad job. Not too bad. And the other thing I'm going to say, I will say is a con. Yeah, he can't do cells. And I've noticed, I don't want to bring another person in this that does reviews, but King of Lightning mentioned that. Why can't he do Settles? Listen, man, I got a feeling it's because he can't do it because Hollow Power. I think he has to be fully hollow to do it, and it's kind of a stupid gesture. I mean, he should learn it. I think, you know what? Now that he's got these full brain powers, I think he should be able to learn it. I think he should be able to do a Settles. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But this was a good chapter. 3.5 out of 5. Chapter 476. The Lost. I like what I see. Oh, by the way, I'm giving Mr. Phone. I'm ignoring him. He's enough. He wants to keep doing this? Let him. But I'm saying what I'm saying. And I'm saying this chapter was very good. It could have been better. It was very good. Moving along. We're moving along with this fight. I think these last 3 chapters were pretty good. We'll see. We'll see what next week brings. Anyway, this has been Bonkon. Oh, before I forget, King of Lightning, I will get to your questions. Okay? So this has been Bonkon 922, good Bleach chapter, and I will see you guys later.